Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 191, Incentivizing Your Subcontractors with Fixed Fees.
Joe, we have been recording this podcast for almost 4 years, and we're up to 191 episodes. Just when you think, or we think, we're going to run out of things to talk about, you then throw me for an absolute loop and start talking in a coaching call about something that you've never even spoken to me about.
Yeah, I don't know if it just didn't occur to me until then, or I just hadn't kind of like labeled it, maybe.
Yeah, because you've been doing this a while, using fixed fees to pay your subcontractors to incentivize them and to protect your profit on that project or task or whatever it is, which is great. So yeah, the fact that this is the first time, well, last week was the first time this topic came up. You literally, I think you may have seen my brain just go explode in that conversation.
You're like, no, you have never, ever said this before, and I know you really well at everything you say.
I would have remembered this conversation. Now, for those that are new here, I reckon, Joe, we should start off with just very briefly going through some of these terms that you're going to hear throughout this episode. We'll start off with a really easy one. What do we mean when we talk about agency owner?
Yeah, so agency owner means that there are team members who are delivering client work and they are client facing.
Cool. Next one. What do we mean when we talk about subcontractors?
Subcontractors is when you are contracted to an agency to deliver some work or do projects or provide a service of some kind. You're not an employee, you're a contractor, and there are kind of like different parameters for you with being a subcontractor. You don't have to turn up at a certain time and be available for, a period during the day. You are more in agreement with what you're actually going to deliver, and you're delivering that when it suits you best.
Oh, and a subcontractor can be either client-facing or non-client-facing. So your subcontractor could be doing more in-house stuff for you, not necessarily client work or client-facing work. And lastly, this is really important because this is what this episode's all about. What do we mean when we talk about a fixed fee?
So Google says that a fixed fee is a set amount that you pay for a service, a piece of work, a project, those kind of things, regardless of how much time it takes to complete. The amount is set.
That sounds
Doesn't
pretty
matter how long time that takes.
Yeah. Okay. So today we're talking about not using fixed fees for your clients, but actually paying your subcontractors fixed fees. Because there's some benefits. There's some benefits to both you as the agency owner, and are there going to be benefits to the subcontractor too? I reckon there are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely there is. Yeah. We'll talk about those. And let's clarify too. It's like you may or may not be charging your client a fixed fee. That part is kind of irrelevant. It's what we're talking about here is actually just paying your subcontractors fixed fee for where it makes sense. And we'll talk about that in the episode as well.
Yeah. Okay. Benefits, Joe. Benefits to you as a VA agency owner.
Oh, yes. This is going to incentivize your subcontractors and motivate them to be super proactive, finding better ways to do things, implementing maybe some AI, some automation, some things to do things faster and better, meaning that the subcontractor still gets paid the same amount for delivering the piece of work, regardless of how long that is actually going to take them. So they are, in their minds, super motivated to make this communication really well with the client, like actually giving them great communication that means that the client is giving the subcontractor what they need. Because, things blow out of budget, right? And often it's
Mm-hmm.
down to the client not giving you the things that you need to complete the work. So this is going to incentivize that subcontractor to make sure that that client is delivering on what they need. And that comes down to really great communication. Whereas if it was an hourly rate, they may just be more relaxed in terms of how much they're going to check in or follow up the client and make sure that things are like keeping to the time frame that was agreed. So I think this is an amazing incentive for that subcontractor to do a really great job. And that leads into a great customer experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, you just touched on that communication. That's a huge bit. If you are communicating really well with your subcontractor, then it's natural for the communication to be equally as fantastic with the client. Everyone's on the same page because everybody wants to deliver a project that hasn't blown out. Like that's a win-win-win. The client, the agency owner, and the subcontractor. Like that's the ideal little triangle of profit. Is this why you started implementing it in your VA business, Jo? Was it around like projects were blowing out this way?
Yeah, I think it was about like especially with websites. This is where we started with it. Website projects where they can really blow out easily because there is a lot of needing to get things back from the client. And there's a lot of kind of gold plating and fiddling that you can do with it, perfecting the website. And so if we made it a fixed fee, we knew, okay, we know that the profit is going to be there because the subcontractor has some really clear parameters about what they need to deliver in a certain time frame. And we know that they're going to do that because otherwise they're going to spend a whole bunch more extra time and they're not going to get paid for that extra time because we've agreed on a fixed fee. So it really protected that profit of the project. And we didn't necessarily have the subcontractor delivering the entire project from end to end, but we were really clear on the parameters of what they were going to deliver. And so we just worked out, like, say it was, X number of dollars for the total project. We said, okay, we want a portion of that to be one of our internal employee team members. They have maybe a budget of X number of dollars or X number of hours that they would make sure that they are delivering what they need to inside those parameters. And then we would say, okay, that leaves us about this much that we want to have available to pay a subcontractor. And so we just agreed with them, hey, does this sound right? Are you happy to deliver this, this, and this in this amount? Great. And then we know that we have that margin. So that profit on the project is always going to be there because everyone was clear on what they needed to deliver for a fixed fee.
Did you have any teething
no
issues? Yeah. Did you have any teething issues? Because I feel like in order for this to work really well from the agency owner's point of view, you would have needed to be really confident in the quoting, the proposals, the pricing of those projects or the work that you're doing for the client. Like you need to be all over that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is a little harder for someone who's just starting out when they first hire a subcontractor because you really do have to have your quoting correct and you do have to be very detailed and specific on the brief. Because if there are things that you're assuming the subcontractor would do inside their fixed fee, and the subcontractor has no idea that you want them to do those extra things, that is absolutely where it can go wrong. And there can be disagreements about like what was actually required to be delivered. So you will need to have some experience of doing some really great quoting and being super detailed and specific on the brief. That is an absolute must because that is where it could absolutely go wrong. Yeah.
Any teething problems for you in that regard, or did you were at because you implemented it when you did, you were all over that. You were quite aware.
We were well down the track, so we knew. We knew what we needed to include.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about the benefits to you as the agency owner. What about the benefits to the subcontractor?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get paid regardless of how long it takes them. So if they can find some efficiencies, it's not going to affect how much they are paid. Because, if you're on an hourly rate as a subcontractor and you do things faster and faster and faster, you're getting paid less and less and less.
Oh my
Unless
God.
the agency gives you more work, right?
Yes. That hadn't even occurred to me.
Yeah. So there's no incentive at all for that subcontractor to do things efficiently because they want to work all the hours to get paid all the hours. This way, it flips it because now the subcontractor can essentially earn, say, the same amount of money, but deliver in much less hours. If they can find efficiencies, automation, implement things and do things faster. Because remember, the quality of work cannot drop. What you're
Yes.
actually delivering cannot be reduced.
Yeah,
But
that was.
if you can find some efficiencies, that's the key.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, do you ever find, or you may not have found this, but I would imagine this would happen, the subcontractor being so incentivized to do it quicker that it's then rushing? You're doing
Yes.
it. You're not giving it your all because you're uber aware of wanting to get it done as soon as you can, because as quick as you can do it, the more money you make. In
Yes.
theory.
So
Yeah.
as an agency owner, if you are asking a subcontractor to do things, or if you're agreeing with them to do things in a fixed fee, and it's not, website projects, like they're delivering a great product that the client is happy with, and there's iterations of that, right? So like they need to deliver it as a high quality project. I think that it could be a little different where like things could go wrong if it's more not quite a big project, but maybe like if you're delivering something like copywriting or something where you can like really see the quality of it drop, or if it's something where it's more like kind of administrative kind of stuff. I think, yeah, you could definitely rush and make a lot more mistakes if you are a subcontractor incentivized by that fixed fee. So that's where the agency owner really needs to make sure that they are clear with the subcontractor about the level of work, and then in their agreement that you have with them, making sure that you say that there needs to be some kind of oversight or review of that work, and the quality needs to be at an acceptable level of whatever you've agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some things where you would have to have a bit more oversight and make sure that the quality is still there.
Yeah. And in terms of like the time tracking, like would you still expect your subcontractor to be time tracking this or not?
No.
No.
So, no, because, so this is where it can get a little tricky with the detail. So,
Yeah.
if it's a subcontractor and it's fixed fee, you will not be requiring them to be time tracking in your time tracking system, because it's up to them and it's irrelevant for you how many hours it took them to do that. So I would suggest that any subcontractor would be time tracking that in their own time tracker, so they can see then if they are profitable or not, if they're taking too long, if they need to find some efficiencies. They need to be aware of that, how long it's going to take. You would not be expecting them to time track in your system because you've agreed a fixed fee.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's a lot to be thinking about, isn't there?
Yes.
Or is it just me from the outside going, there's a lot to be thinking about, when in actual fact,
No,
if you're running a team, is this just going to come naturally? I don't know.
there is a lot to think about. I think that there is huge benefits to both you as the agency owner and the subcontractor. And there are some things that you must make sure you do well. The oversight, the reviewing, the checking of the quality, and the detailed and specific brief. Those would be the key thing.
Yeah. No other kind of real huge areas to be aware of where it can go wrong?
But I feel like also making sure that you've agreed with the subcontractor when you will pay them, Like, is it some
Mm.
upfront? Is it some after it's complete? And then making sure that your client is actually the agreement that you have with them about when they will pay is kind of matching that so that you're getting the
Yeah.
money in from the client and being able to then pay the subcontractor. So just make sure that those dates kind of line up so that you're not left trying to, pay your subcontractor first and then needing to be able to cover it while you're waiting for the client to pay. Just make sure those things are lined up.
Yeah. Could you imagine having this in place and then for whatever reason, you don't have those solid foundations when it comes to charging your client for this, and then the project's done and you've got no money to then pay your subcontractor?
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay. You
Yeah.
want to avoid that, people. Let's avoid that. What types of projects, jobs, tasks do fixed fees work really well for?
Okay, so it works really well for any kind of jobs that have very clear parameters. The number of things that are going to be delivered, timeframes, like a start and end that is super clear, rather than like EA service where it's kind of like monitoring and doing whatever is required and like the tasks are different all the time. And there's not really clear parameters because you're like monitoring inboxes and communicating lots with clients. Those are not suitable for fixed fees. It's more around the like end to end projects, tasks, jobs, things that have some very specific parameters, dates, number of things, number of iterations, those kind
Mm.
of, yeah, delivering a thing, a something.
I feel like a lot of the creative virtual
Yeah.
assistants would have projects like this.
Yeah. So it could be social media, posts, templates. It could be document design. It could be websites. It could be copywriting. Because it's specific about what you're actually delivering.
Cool. Okay. Does this work or how does it work? Or when does it work best for when it's non-client facing team members?
Yeah. So you could absolutely do this for your non-client facing subcontractors, which just means that they aren't kind of assigned to the client and are dealing with them direct. So this is things like maybe you do social media posts for someone, maybe you create the graphics for someone. Someone in your team or you could be the one who is client facing. So you're communicating with the client and delivering the work to them, asking the questions, etc. And then you could have a subcontractor who is providing or doing the work. So they're doing the social media posts, etc. They could absolutely be on a fixed fee because you are actually asking them for something that has those clear parameters. This number of posts, X number, then maybe it's like 3 carousel posts, 1 reel, and 2 normal posts, graphic posts. If they have those clear parameters, they could absolutely do that for a fixed fee for you. Because it's likely that you'll be doing that as a fixed fee for your
Hmm.
client. So they could absolutely provide that to you. Just make sure that there is enough in your project fee for the client that you can cover your communication and kind of management costs,
Mm.
plus your subcontractor, and then your profit inside that.
Mm. So this works just as well if you've got a team member, a subcontractor doing your own social media, for example. So not
Yeah.
necessarily even your clients, this could be your own.
Yeah, absolutely works for non-billable work too, as long as they have those clear parameters in terms of that job, task, or project. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about those clear parameters. Let's talk about the legal stuff that you need to have in place in order for this to work really, really well. Because, you know, we talk a lot about the need for having a robust contract with your clients, but the same goes for having a robust contract for your subcontractors.
Yeah. So I feel like every single agency owner who has a subcontractor doing fixed fee work would need to provide that subcontractor with a very clear brief. What's included, that agreement, right? That what's included, how long it's going to take, when it's going to be delivered, that kind of stuff. How many iterations there are going to be, the quality that needs to be at. And so what you could do is you'll have a contractor agreement with your subcontractor that they have signed when they first start with you. And then in the back of that, there'll be a schedule, which gives the specifics around the actual work that they will do. So if you use that kind of structure, create a schedule which has the brief and all the agreement on this specific project as a fixed fee, then you could use that as your way of providing the brief and saying, right, here's our agreement, and them coming back and agreeing to that. So I think having your schedule that you would have in your contractor agreement is the thing that you keep up, like creating a new schedule for every time that you need them to do another piece of work for you.
So you're updating or creating a new schedule rather than each piece of work requiring its own specific contract.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to keep doing another contract.
Yeah.
Just the schedule.
Okay. Have you ever found a subcontractor reluctant to do this, or hasn't maybe understood what it is that, or maybe they haven't come across being paid this way? Has there been any fears? Or is it?
I think because we've done it with project-based subcontractors, they're used to doing fixed fees most of the time. The ones that we are hiring are experienced subcontractors. So it hasn't come up as an issue, but I know that there has been other agency owners who are like, oh, but how would I actually sell this to my subcontractor? Because of that, like, maybe thinking that it's more like a commission-based agreement.
Isn't that interesting language, though? Selling something to a subcontractor. Like, I find that really, really interesting. Should we be selling anything to a subcontractor as a VA agency owner?
Yeah, I think that, like, using the word selling this to, how am I going to sell this to my subcontractor, means that it feels like it's just one-sided, that the benefits are only for you. But I think remembering that this is great for both parties, them and you. The subcontractor, if they are smart and understand how this works, because you've kind of walked them through how it's going to work, and they get it, they're going to see the possibilities and the benefits for them in terms of same amount of money. I find some efficiencies. I can do this in less hours. So essentially their average hourly rate just increase if they can deliver it high quality and have some efficiencies.
And if a subcontractor refuses or is really, really reluctant, would you say that's a red flag? Because, I mean, we've heard stories of subcontractors not even wanting to sign a contract with the agency owner. Like they think that's a red flag, that they're going to be locked in for life or something. And the agency owners then felt as though they've really had to sell the idea of this new team member signing the contract. Like, would you say this is a red flag if this team member really is against it?
Yeah, they're against it potentially because they don't think that they could deliver what you have suggested inside that amount of fixed fee. So either the subcontractor doesn't think that you've priced it right and it's not a fair agreement in terms of the fixed fee, or they want to be paid for every hour that it's going to take them, and they don't want the risk that they couldn't deliver it inside that fixed fee, which, I mean, if they can find some efficiencies, they absolutely could, especially if they've been doing it for a while. If they've been doing it for a while for you on an hourly rate and they're reluctant to go to a fixed fee, why? Why are they reluctant? I would be digging in and asking them why. What kind of risk do they think that there is there?
Yeah. I know you haven't experienced it personally, but for those that might do, would you advise somebody experiencing it to have some wriggle room there? Or is it this is how it's going to work, like it or lump it?
Yeah, I think being realistic about the fixed fee. Like, you don't want to be trying to get someone to do so much work. It's completely unrealistic that they could deliver that for a small price. Like, that would not be okay. So it's about like a negotiation with that subcontractor sometimes to make sure that it is going to be the right fixed fee and it is possible to deliver what you're actually asking. So I think that would be the first thing. But if they are reluctant to move to this, yeah, I would be digging into why, because it is a great option for both, as long as you're priced it right.
So I guess you've just touched on another reason or another situation where this may go wrong. And this is when you as the agency owner are only doing it to make more money, like with no kind of leeway or understanding as to how long something may actually take.
Yeah, I would say that is a very unethical
Yeah.
reason to want to put in fixed fees to try and like really like get down the costs that you are paying for the work and to increase profit. It's not about that. It's about incentivizing your subcontractor to do a really great job, and the quality of communication and work delivered to the client increases because they are motivated and want to be super proactive to deliver something great. That's the reason to want to do it for an agency owner. Protecting that profit, not increasing your profit.
Yeah. Yeah. So be aware of that. Anyone listening, thinking about doing this, like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Have you got all those foundations in place? Are you aware of like how long things realistically take?
Yes.
Which ideally an agency should have all that in place before they even start scaling anyway. So
yes.
But we know that doesn't always happen, Joe.
No, it does not always happen. All right, if you have listened to this episode and this has just kind of sparked something in you and you are looking at ways of protecting your profit and increasing the level of quality of work that you're delivering inside your agency, we would love to see you inside the Scale It Mastermind, where we help you scale sustainably and profitably. Check out the link below and we'd love to have you join us. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the mastermind and the amazing resources, courses, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.